These end-of-year prediction videos are always some of my favorites to make, and we've been doing them for a while now. But this just might be the most exciting one we'll ever have. Unlike last year, where I got a little ahead of myself on the Switch 2 front, we now have complete confirmation of Nintendo's next-gen system being revealed in 2025, in the first quarter even. And while I normally try my best to insert as much creativity as possible no matter the year, often to my detriment prediction-wise, I think we all know that this one's a little different. The build-up and launch to a new console is not something we get to experience often. It's been 8 years since we first found out about the Switch, and in the time since, Nintendo's built up more confidence and excitement than they've ever had before. We're here not only to predict the next year of Nintendo, but the first chapter of this new era. Which, putting it that way, is kind of a lot of pressure. But you know what's more important than being right? Having fun. But I would also like to be right. Enough preamble, you know the drill. We're pulling back the curtain on all 4 acts of Nintendo's 2025, predicting the announcements, notable events, and of course, games released within. It doesn't get more hype than this, if you assume me to be correct, which, let's be real, you should always do. Let's get into it. Act 1. The storm before the calm. Usually, these predictions start off pretty light. January gives Nintendo the opportunity to really ease into the new year while giving their holiday some time to breathe. But everything's different in 2025. We're not waiting in this time, we're jumping straight into the deep end. Shortly into the month, Nintendo will shock and delight hungry fans with the long-awaited 2025-defining Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. On a lesser note, Nintendo's revealing their next-gen system this month. Once Donkey Kong's had his brief time in the sun, late January will see the announcement of a short reveal presentation for the Nintendo Switch successor. A 10-ish minute stream will be premiered a couple of days after the tweet, and this lead-up will be historic. I'm talking record-breaking likes on the Nintendo account. I'm talking prediction videos overflowing your feed. Complete, unbridled hype in this sphere and far beyond. Internet-shaking event. On that fateful day, millions will gather on the edge of their seats to finally see the reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2. Expect months of debate on whether or not this dooms the system. Meet the Nintendo Switch Neo. Switch Neo for short, just Neo if you're really scared of the Wii U. It's exactly what we know it to be. A larger and stronger Nintendo Switch with a wider screen and prettier visuals. Form factor remains almost entirely the same. You dock it for TV play, you pop it out to take it on the go. Comes in black and white at launch. Novelties include the newly magnetic Joy-Con Neo, which we knew about, swapping the Switch snap to a new axis, and the mysterious C button, which we also knew about. It's not cool, it opens up a sidebar for quick controller and Bluetooth connections, I'm sorry cast fans. But what we won't know about going into this trailer are what will bring it home, the games. And we'll see a lot of them. We open similarly to the classic 2016 Switch reveal, with someone playing docked mode on the couch, except no Zelda to be found here. Instead, we get our first glimpse at next-gen 3D Mario, pulling off some incredible platforming maneuvers in a densely packed environment. It's instantly apparent that the Switch 1 could not handle what we're being shown. Other scenes throughout show off brief teases of Mario Kart, an unknown casual multiplayer title, and a Neo version of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. But, while I usually keep these videos first-party only, I'm making an exception to emphasize just how crucial third-party support will be this generation. Final Fantasy VII Remake is there, Street Fighter VI is there, and Elden Ring is there. Skyrim moment. After the 3-minute trailer, Takahashi and Koizumi will walk on screen and, almost uncharacteristically for Nintendo, give a brief technical overview. It'll be shallow, they will never utter the words DLSS through this entire campaign, but it's a known concept, they'll have to put a little more legwork into selling the differences. More notably though, the presentation will end with further insight into one of the teased titles, that 3D Mario game. Koizumi will mention the fact that 2025 is the 40th anniversary of Super Mario Bros. Before transitioning into a cutscene. Just a 30-second stinger, but showing Mario running away from some sort of cataclysmic event. I will analyze every frame. The Nintendo Switch Neo will launch in May 2025. Yup, I'm still a spring believer, just you wait. You'd think that February would be a bit of a breather month after finally getting that major reveal, but instead, we're keeping the momentum rolling with a Nintendo Direct Mini, the first non-partner showcase one since 2020 in fact. This will essentially be the Nintendo Switch closure presentation. While the system will continue to be supported for years past the Switch Neo's launch, its time as Nintendo's main platform is of course coming to an end, and this Direct will feel very reflective of that. Nothing major, just some stragglers that you'd expect to see at the end of the era. First up, Metroid Prime 2 and 3. With Beyond on the horizon, Nintendo will take the opportunity to get the entire series on the Switch with this Pikmin 1+2-esque double pack. Hopefully Prime 4 avoids jumbling the timeline. These two won't carry the remastered moniker and will be far closer to the original Prime trilogy's visual quality, only cleaned up and HDified for a modern release. Just like Pikmin, both titles will be available separately on the eShop, but the dual release will be available both online and physically. Most exciting though is that just like Prime Remastered before it, this will be a shadow drop, filling in Nintendo's empty February slot. The physical release will be a few weeks later. Unsurprisingly, a new Mario sports game will be shown off in this presentation. But what is surprising is that it's not baseball, or tennis again, or even a compilation game. It's basketball. In one final Switch-era subversion, Camelot has taken on Square's mantle to bring a new Mario Hoops game to fruition. The main focus here is on team synchronization, with local 2v2 and online 4v4 being the primary modes of play. Gameplay-wise, things stay pretty similar to Mario's previous basketball ventures, with the exception of a new charge meter that lets you blast down the court. Mario Hoops Breakaway will be set to release in the summer. Last but not least, it's another rumored remaster, and this time, Kirby gets his final curtain. Kirby Planet Robobot Deluxe will adopt Return to Dreamland Deluxe's art style, and aim to provide the best possible version of this beloved entry. Just like Dreamland Deluxe, it'll have a couple new copy abilities under its belt, specifically Construction and the returning but fully fleshed out Light. And as a continuation of the trend the previous title began, Planet Robobot Deluxe will be complemented by its own unique side story, Susie Prologue, a Mechanist Adrift. It'll detail the years she spent in another dimension before the events of the game, though will confusingly still be unlocked after the main story. Kirby Planet Robobot Deluxe will drop in April. But February is not done yet. Pokemon Day will still arrive at the end of the month, and with it, a Pokemon Presents detailing Legend ZA. I'm still not a Pokemon guy. This is the only reveal in this video that I'm completely incapable of elaborating on. It'll be a Legends sequel, right? And will take place in the Pokemon XY location, I think. Oh wait, mixed up starters, I can do that. Froakie, Turtwig, Chimchar. I did not Google those names, and I'm only half certain I got the grass one right, but that's what's going down. November release date, as expected. Spoiler alert, March is not letting up. I think you get the act title by this point. Just to get it out of the way before I forget, and I hate talking down to the franchise like it's an afterthought, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition will drop on the 20th. Oh, and Mario Hoops will get dated for July on Mario Day, just like Thousand Year Door and Luigi's Mansion 2 did in 2024. With that said, frankly, we have more important things going on. With the Switch Neo launch only 2 months away, Nintendo will finally grace us with that January 2017 equivalent, the Blowout. A 50-minute Switch Neo presentation will be announced, although the scale will be slightly pulled back from last time. Instead of a live presentation, subject to various live presentation moments, this will essentially be a souped-up Nintendo Direct. But don't worry, it's very souped up. This will be our first real look at what the next generation of Nintendo will entail, and Nintendo has no intention of holding back. With most of the technical differences divulged in January, there won't be much to talk about outside of the games, but we'll get an info overview regardless. Largely a summary of previous info, but with some focus sections on the price point, $400 USD, backwards compatibility with some Switch Online member-exclusive performance patches, and the system's new social features like voice chat. But that's not what we're here for. We want to know what we'll be playing. And time won't be wasted as we cut to our first reveal. Engines rev, tires screech, it's Mario Kart X. And before any gimmicks or new characters are shown, the game will instantly stun with its visuals and ambition. Mario Kart has acted as something of a technical showcase in the past, with 8 still looking stellar to this day, and X will aim to prove what the next decade of Mario Kart can look like. I don't want to spend too much of this video talking about how every game will look prettier, because I think you get the picture 3 descriptions in, but seeing as this will be the Neo's primary spectacle game, I feel like it was important to mention. What's more important, obviously, is the gameplay. We'll see new tracks driven on by some new faces like EGAD, Prince Florian, and Kirby, alongside some old tracks like Airship Fortress, but the thing that really sets Mario Kart X apart is its gimmick. And it's really stupid. But like good stupid. New X zones will be available on nearly every track, areas in which your kart cannot enter. Naturally, the only response to this is to get ejected and roller skate through. Skating will be the 4th gameplay pillar of Mario Kart X, alongside gliding, anti-grav, and underwater segments. Control-wise, things aren't all too different, with the exception of the ability to jump on the spot, making item dodging easier at the cost of a steeper stun time if you do get hit. You can also take turns tighter and, obviously, fit through narrow gaps, making it an excellent shortcut feature. All fun and games until you see Bowser burst out of his cart and chase you down on foot. Mario Kart X will be set for October, the big launch year holiday game. Next up, mandatory EPD4 tech demo. A little harder to predict when the system itself is largely the same, not a ton of system features in need of exploration. Here's what I see: Switch Neo Frenzy, a local multiplayer party game, shocking, that abandons the eye-to-eye focus of 1-2 Switch in favor of offering a more conventional gaming experience. From that point on, it's basically just a typical minigame collection, the Wii Party of this generation. Except no Mii's, which is something. Switch Neo Frenzy will launch with the system in May. Metroid Prime 4 time. Despite being a Switch game first and foremost, Nintendo will nonetheless use the Neo as a way to build even more excitement around Beyond, launching the game simultaneously on both platforms with the Neo version being cleaned up beyond the parameters of a performance patch. And the trailer we'll receive will be nothing short of magical. Just like Breath of the Wild did, we're getting a meaty follow-up to the title reveal teaser in June. Gameplay and cutscenes are expertly interwoven to beautifully convey the game's mechanical and cinematic scope. Stunning new environments, innovative combat additions, Samus has an energy sword now, why not? We're getting up close and personal, everyone thank Mercury Steam. But the true focus of the trailer is highlighting the central feud between Samus and Sylux. Their rivalry is the main draw of the game. He's formidable and calculated and has a counter to everything in her arsenal. We end on a climactic clashing of energy blades as we finally get our release date in June 2024. Please let Sylux be cool. But wait, we're on to the next trailer, but we're still in space. Is it an extended peek at Beyond? Maybe a tease for Metroid 6? It has been 3 years since Dread. No. Star Fox. I'm sorry, I keep going back to this, it just feels right. I'm not even a huge Star Fox guy, but it just feels like it's time. And what better platform to see the series return on? After taking a generational break, Star Fox will blow minds with its planet-orbiting action. A new, mysterious, non-Andross villain is threatening not just the Lylat system, but the entire universe. Despite an immense increase in scale, as usual, it's up to Team Star Fox to save the day, and to do so in countless new galaxies. Well, you could probably count them. I imagine they'd be the world, so maybe like 5 to 8. December. By this point, the Direct will start to wrap up its first-party offerings, but there'll still be a few surprises to be unveiled. It's finally time for FE4. I know this was rumored to be a Switch game initially, and Fire Emblem has stuck around for the dying years of a system in the past, but at this point, I feel like it makes sense on Neo. Right out the gate, you've got a major Nintendo JRPG on the system. It diversifies the lineup in a major way, just like Xenoblade 2 did for the Switch 1 launch year. And when I checked with my friend who's made this game their entire personality, they said that it absolutely has the ambition to be a next-gen Fire Emblem release if they so choose. Look at me doing my research. I can learn. Fire Emblem The Holy War will launch exclusively on Nintendo Switch Neo in September. Just a quick note, following up the third-party inclusions in the January reveal, I feel like it once again makes sense to mention their presence here, probably for the last time. Third parties are going to be dying to reach this market, and this presentation will make that fact even more clear. The previously mentioned titles, FF7 Remake, Street Fighter 6, and Elden Ring will be here, but they'll be complemented by a few others. Most notably, Persona 3 Reload, Call of Duty, which kinda has to be here, and Doom the Dark Ages. All set to release in the foreseeable future, Doom specifically, day and date with competing platforms. And now, finally, the show closer, the big one. Mario's newest 3D adventure is unlike anything we've seen before. While magically peeking through other dimensions to find a Princess Peach willing to marry him, Bowser accidentally merges our main Mushroom Kingdom with innumerable other worlds. The result is an impossibly vast Pangea-like playground of platforming. That's right, we're Bowser's Furying this thing, a completely interconnected world for us to explore, each zone entirely unique from the last, but cohesively connected all the same. With all the out-of-dimension locations at risk of being destroyed and taking the Mushroom Kingdom down with them, it's up to Mario to visit each, collect all their unique power sources, and finally confront Bowser before it's too late. The future of Mario is upon us. Super Mario Nexus will launch alongside the Nintendo Switch Neo in May. And so closes the curtain on the Switch Neo presentation and the first act of Nintendo's 2025. Yeah, that was a quarter, we covered a lot of ground. But while the reveal per month rate definitely peaks in March, the year is nowhere near done with its surprises. Act 2, One Small Step for Miyamoto. April will be the first month of the year where we'll actually have time to breathe and process everything we just witnessed. Kirby Planet Robobot Deluxe will drop to very positive reception, but this will probably be the first instance in 2025 of an actual calm before the storm. Even then, it'll be tough to consider it a true calm when the Switch Neo will dominate every corner of gaming discussion. The excitement with 1 month left to go will be unparalleled, a whole new generation just weeks away. And before we know it, it'll arrive. May will be a truly insane month. The marketing buildup from Nintendo, the hype buildup from the community, everything culminating in that fateful day where we get the Switch Neo and Super Mario Nexus. And Switch Neo Frenzy, if you remember that. Outside of some expected shortages, shockingly just make enough wasn't a viable scalping countermeasure, everything will go over very smoothly. It'll sell super well, Nexus will get that classic 3D Mario 97 on Metacritic, and the spread of amazing first-party titles and third-party ports across that launch year will keep momentum rolling. But do you know what would be even crazier? More momentum. Something that June will provide in spades, because only 3 months after the Neo presentation and 1 month after its launch, it's time for our first regular Nintendo Direct of the new era. For all intents and purposes, it's the same thing. The only difference being that it'll feature both Switch games and Switch Neo games, the former of which will all be playable through backwards compatibility, which will keep people interested through the entire presentation, unlike those late days of the 3DS. That said, the Switch Neo is still the primary focus here. In fact, there'll only be one first-party Switch 1 announcement of note, one that is long overdue: Wind Waker HD. Yup, I'm standing by my no double pack take. These games will be separate and just short of full price, and there's not much we can do about it. Wind Waker HD will be almost untouched from its original Wii U release, with the obvious difference being that gamepad functionality is remapped to work on the Switch's single screen. Yearly Zelda shows no signs of stopping, and since Wind Waker is sailing solo, we can already guess what 2026's might be. Wind Waker HD will be set for August. Mario Hoops Breakaway will also get a brief segment, reminding everyone to pick it up the following month. Now, onto everyone's new favorite system. The Switch Neo portion of the Direct will see new trailers for most of the year's remaining games. Mario Kart X will get a large portion of the presentation dedicated to it, specifically revealing some returning courses and a new character, Fox McCloud. I promise it's not Nintendo Kart, everything in moderation. Surprisingly, the game will have pretty solid single-player offerings. Taking the basics of DS mission mode, X will turn the core concept of driving-based challenges and transform them into a story mode. In reality, it's just mission mode with a new coat of paint and Mario Tennis Aces level narrative incentive, but it'll be appreciated regardless. Star Fox Cosmos will get to show off a new world or two, and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond will get its final pre-launch trailer where it spoils a little too much. As for new titles, this Direct will have two, kicking off and bookending the presentation. First up, it's time for Redemption. We open on a jungle. Spoiler alert, new Donkey Kong! With Nintendo dedicating an entire half of their theme park to the ape, it was inevitable. Disappointingly to some, it is 2D, but very excitingly, it's an in-house EPD production. And as I've predicted for multiple years at this point, yes, the Kremlings are back. This time around, Sorcerer K. Rool casts a spell to permanently doom DK Island. Under this curse, the sun will never be able to rise again in its borders, bringing eternal night and destroying its habitats, including precious banana trees. Once midnight's hit, it'll become irreversible, so Donkey Kong and co. set off to stop him. The game takes place over the span of a single day, with each world representing a different time frame as the sun slowly moves along. That penultimate evening world is gonna be beautiful. Donkey Kong Country Sunset Curse will be given a 2026 release window. But wait, this Nintendo Direct has a surprise up its sleeve, one that isn't a brand new game. And that surprise is named Shigeru Miyamoto. He'll walk on screen thanking us for experiencing Mario, especially in his groundbreaking new adventure, and talking about how much this 40th anniversary truly means to him. He'll also mention how Mario is bigger than games at this point, with a theme park and a movie under his belt, the latter of which is getting a sequel next year. It couldn't be. It is. The sequel to the Mario movie casting announcement. This is gonna be good. This Direct will announce 4 actors who will be playing critical roles in the Super Mario Bros. Movie 2. You ready? Wario is Mark Hamill. Waluigi is Steve Buscemi. Toadette is Kristen Schaal. And yes, Daisy is Awkwafina. Also, I'm not predicting it per se, but I wouldn't be surprised if they cast Yoshi. Onto the Direct closer, and call me bold, but it's time. The previous title will be more than 5 years old. The Division's last title will be older than 3. In 2025, we will see Animal Crossing. We won't play it, but we'll see it. The new game will thankfully be a fusion of new and old. As part of Nook Inc.'s business development program, you're tasked with turning a town's struggling market into a thriving shopping district. This part of the game is very New Horizons-esque. The amount of control you had over your island is expanded upon and brought to a whole new setting, with a main street or city-like area for you to spread your creativity to in addition to the town. However, the rest of the game takes cues from the older titles. The town you move into for your development job still becomes your home, as it is for many others, and provides personal incentive to glamorize it. And even better, there are dozens of stores to unlock and upgrade, each with its own unique minigame to take part in, just like Brewster had in New Leaf. Maybe a little optimistic. That's the end of the sentence. Animal Crossing Rising Heights will be set for spring 2026. After the June Direct, it'll be even more apparent that the Switch Neo is showing no signs of slowing down. Just like its predecessor, the energetic burst of its launch year isn't exclusive to these early days and is instead indicative of what the system's entire life will look like. A life that'll seem even better when Metroid Prime 4 Beyond drops later that month, in which Sylux will cement himself as a generational Nintendo villain because I said so. Act 3. The Summer of Neo. July and August will be comparatively light months for the Switch Neo. Heavy on the comparatively, I'll still be Nexus obsessed by that point, but the first party releases of these months, Mario Hoops Breakaway and Wind Waker HD, while still playable on the Neo, will be Switch 1 games, and will naturally carry less excitement with them because of it. I'm sure there'll be a lot of third-party hype to fill in the gaps over the summer, which will carry us over into our next big month, September. Fire Emblem The Holy War will release to critical acclaim, which will then be followed by the announcement of our most consistent Nintendo Direct pillar, except for when it's not. With an incredible year of announcements preceding it, it makes sense to have a presentation that's a little less insane than the previous ones, and I think this will be that presentation. Still though, no shortage of incredible, hype-inducing reveals. First up, our Switch 1 game, and our only instance of me just fully reusing a prediction from last year because I'm too lazy to think up something else. Rhythm Heaven Encore, it's gonna happen. Really, a perfect high-excitement, low-budget franchise for the latter years of a system's life, and Neo backwards compatibility will ensure that it doesn't fade into obscurity like some of the 3DS's late titles did. If we can get Endless Ocean and Famicom Detective Club back, we can get Rhythm Heaven. Encore will drop in January 2026. On to the big stuff. No offense, Rhythm Heaven, I'm dissing the Switch 1, not you. By this point, I imagine we'll have seen most of what we'll need to see going into Mario Kart X and Star Fox Cosmos, but they'll show up with a couple novel reveals each anyway. But we're here for those opening and closing reveals, the last ones of the year, and they'll both be ones to remember. First up, 3D Kirby. The Forgotten Lands sequel is finally upon us, and while the teaser will be short, it'll look very promising. This time around, the Kirby Quartet, that's what I call them, will be out on a Warp Star trip when they're suddenly swallowed up by widening cracks in space. Once they emerge on the other side, nothing seems too different until they return to Popstar and find it warped to unrecognizability. This isn't Kirby's Popstar, but the broken Popstar of the parallel world these four wound up in. Kirby and the Shattered Realm will launch in 2026. The last Nintendo reveal of the year is a good one, albeit the least firm. The Direct's One More Thing will see the Monolith Soft logo fade in from black, and we're suddenly shot into a stunning new world. But this isn't Xenoblade, no, it's a new IP. Medieval landscapes stretch into the distance, with towering castles and fantastical creatures roaming the plains. We won't see much gameplay, but the combat will look incredibly dynamic and will require precise usage of environmental assets to get the jump on enemies. No title, but an incredibly loose 2026 release window that we probably shouldn't bet on. Act 4. Neo Year's Eve. Mario Kart X will drop in October, and the decade-long waiting game for a new title in the series will finally be put to rest. I'll be able to lay down at night knowing that the pain is over. This game will be huge, not to get ahead of myself by about 8 years, but likely the biggest of the entire Neo lifespan. Turning it into the launch year holiday game will prove to be a genius move on Nintendo's part, moving an incredible amount of systems in the last couple months of the year. And so ends Mario's brief but impactful 40th anniversary celebration. Don't think it could have closed out much better. But wait, that's not the only holiday game. The Switch 1 will manage to hold on to relevancy in November when it gives us Pokemon Legends ZA. Notice how I've avoided mentioning it since February because I genuinely have no idea what to say. What I do know about Pokemon is that it sells, and the 1-2 punch of Mario Kart X and Legends ZA at the end of the year is probably the best GTA 6 countermeasure a publisher could realistically possess, assuming it comes out next year at all. And finally, Star Fox Cosmos will sign off December, being deemed as the series' best and closing the book on a truly historic year for Nintendo. Kinda backloaded, given the whole launching a system in the middle of the year thing, but in that time alone, we got multiple first and second tier Nintendo franchises with far more announced for the near future. Safe to say that the Switch Neo launch will be incredibly successful for Nintendo, and paint an extremely bright future as well. If we assume I'm right, which, I guess we'll find out very soon. Probably not about the name, but we have fun here. But, as always, I'd love to hear what you think. What games do you expect to see from Nintendo next year? What games do you hope to see? And what do you find most exciting about the Switch 2? Let me know in the comments below, and have a happy new year.